The late afternoon sun cast long shadows over the small, dusty Texas town where Clara lived. The clapboard houses leaned slightly, weathered by wind and years of relentless sun. Clara had walked these streets quietly for years, carrying a burden heavier than anyone could see. She had borne 3 daughters, each one a miracle in her eyes, but in the eyes of her husband they were a source of constant anger. He had beaten her for every misstep, every sigh of defiance, and even for simply existing. Her hands bore scars, her back carried bruises, and yet her spirit had not fully broken. She moved with a cautious grace, as if each step might set off another storm. That afternoon, Clara found herself at the town well, her dress torn at the hem, her eyes shadowed by exhaustion. The children she had cared for as a neighbor's helper played nearby, but even their laughter couldn't reach her. She knelt and lowered the bucket into the well, feeling the cool metal handle bite into her palms. The creak of a horse approaching drew her attention. Cole had ridden into town with the wind in his hair and the dust swirling around his boots. A rancher by trade, he had spent most of his life on the sprawling lands west of town, tending cattle and the endless plains that stretched beyond the horizon. Life had made him hard, solitary, and observant of those who struggled in silence. When he saw Clara, her slight figure trembling as she drew water, something inside him shifted. It wasn't pity, it was recognition of courage. He dismounted slowly, the leather of his boots crunching on the dry earth. "Evening," he said, his voice calm but firm, carrying the authority of someone used to solitude and responsibility. Clara flinched, startled by the sudden attention. She didn't know him, and in her world, strangers were often as dangerous as those who claimed to love her. I just need some water," she murmured, clutching the bucket to her chest. Cole stepped closer, his eyes scanning her, noticing the bruises on her arms and the weariness in her stance. His jaw tightened, a quiet anger rising for the injustice she had endured. Without a hint of hesitation, he extended a hand. "You're coming with me," he said, steady and unwavering. There was no room for argument, but there was safety in his tone. Clara hesitated, fear and hope battling within her. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, but something in Cole's presence promised sanctuary. She looked up at him, the weight of years pressing on her shoulders, and for the first time in a long while she felt seen, not for what she had endured but for who she was. Slowly she nodded. She lifted the bucket, leaving behind the town that had watched her suffer in silence, and stepped toward the horse that would carry her to freedom. The horizon stretched wide before them, endless and uncertain. But for the first time, Clara imagined a life that might be hers, unshackled from fear. The ride out of town was quiet, the only sounds the rhythmic clop of Cole's horse and the faint rustle of prairie grass in the wind. Clara held the reins loosely, her fingers stiff from the tension of months spent in fear. She glanced at Cole occasionally, noting the calm determination in his eyes, the lines etched from years of living under the relentless Texas sun. He didn't speak much, but the silence was comforting, not threatening. For the first time in her life, she felt as though someone's presence didn't carry danger. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and deep purple, they reached the edge of Cole's ranch. Rolling fields stretched out endlessly, dotted with cattle and a few weathered barns. A sturdy cabin sat at the center, smoke curling from the chimney, promising warmth and shelter. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She had never seen such space, such freedom. It felt like stepping into a dream, one where the past could not reach her. Cole helped her down from the horse. "This will be your home for now," he said, gesturing to the cabin. The door opened, revealing a small but tidy space, sunlight spilling across wooden floors. There was a modest kitchen, a fire already crackling in the hearth, and windows that looked out over fields as far as the eye could see. Clara set down her bucket and ran her fingers over the smooth wooden table, the reality of safety slowly sinking in. The first days were quiet and cautious. Cole gave her space, letting her adjust, but he also taught her small tasks around the ranch, feeding the chickens, tending the garden, learning to handle a lasso. The rhythm of work, the endless sky above, began to ease the tension in her body. She laughed quietly when a calf nudged her, and she felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't experienced in years. Her daughters, too, adjusted quickly. The cabin and ranch offered them wide open spaces to run, explore, and dream. Clara watched them play in the fields, sunlight catching their hair and tears pricked her eyes. She had escaped cruelty, but here she found joy. Here her children could thrive without fear. Cole watched from a distance, a quiet smile on his face. He had lived alone for so long, thinking solitude was enough. Yet in Clara and her daughters, he found a sense of family he hadn't realized he had been searching for. He admired her courage, her resilience, the way she kept moving forward despite everything. Slowly, he allowed himself to hope that this shared life, this ranch, this small, fragile happiness could last. One evening, as the sun set behind the distant hills, Clara sat on the porch with her daughters at her side. Cole joined them, a blanket draped over his shoulders. They watched the sky turn indigo, stars appearing one by one. Clara leaned into Cole's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you." He simply nodded, understanding that no words could fully capture the relief, gratitude, and cautious hope that now filled her heart. For the first time, she believed that the future could be kind. Together, they had built a new life, one of freedom, safety, and the quiet joy of second chances under the vast Texas sky.